afternoon. We are entering a new age of technology, the metaverse, cryptocurrency, NFTs, Web3. Many companies are betting big that the young people will adopt this new virtual world. However, a recent study of Gen Z found that only 38% of this generation think the metaverse will be the next big thing. So let's have a show of hands in this room. Who here believes the metaverse will be the next big thing? Okay, looking at maybe a third of the room, so similar to the study, interesting. Well, actually, this study took place in the US. We also found that 1 in 4 people, 25%, found the concept of this virtual world, metaverse, to be scary. So this isn't the first time that new technology has come along and been met with apprehension. In 1991, I don't know how many people here will remember those days, but I think I was 1 year old. In 1991, the World Wide Web was introduced to the world, and this is the internet, essentially. So back then, many people thought, oh, this will fizzle out in a few years. Experts considered it to be a shiny new fad that nobody was really using. But a few years passed, technology developed, and simple browsers like Internet Explorer were released. And businesses like Amazon and eBay opened online stores. And as more and more people started to use the internet, the value of the internet grew. There were more people to connect with. There were more people to buy products from. There were more people selling products. Now, where a product, or anything really, increases in value based on the number of users, that is known as a network effect. So how can you convince people to buy into a new idea, a new innovation, a new technology? Well, there are a whole host of methodologies, theories, but if you ask me, it's very simple. And the key is to be human-centric, because technology means nothing without people. So I'm going to be talking about 3 key things today. Number 1, the importance of networking. Number 2, the importance of really making an effort to understand people. And thirdly, leading with values. So let's start with networking. So in 2009, at the age of 19, I decided I wanted to spend the summer working for a law firm in China. I didn't know anybody in China, and back then, social media platforms like LinkedIn, they weren't really that big a thing. So my one gateway to the world was through the internet. So I went on Google, I looked up as many law firms as I could find in China. I fired off, 30, 40, 50 emails. And I thought, yes, I'm going to Beijing. Well, a week went by, 2 weeks went by, no replies. So I thought, okay, I'll send some follow-ups. Someone has to reply. Third week went by, still no replies. And then there was one. I got a reply. I thought, brilliant. It was a rejection. They said, thank you for your interest, but we only offer internships to Chinese-speaking law graduates. I was a history graduate, I wasn't even a graduate, I was an undergrad. I was an undergrad studying history, and I couldn't speak Mandarin. But actually, I thought this was a good thing. I thought, I've had a reply. I now have an opportunity. I've got a direct line of communications. I'm not taking no for an answer. So I replied to them. I put this long email together about why they should let me come along. And I said, let's just at least have a video interview. Back then, that was Skype. We didn't have FaceTime or Zoom. So they agreed to a Skype call miraculously. And on this call, I said to them, I don't just want to have an internship at your firm. What I'm hoping for is a 2-way cultural exchange. Even though I'm a student, I will bring with you my learnings from the UK and show you how we do things, and hopefully I can learn a lot from you. And it worked. So they said, fine, we'll make an exception for you. Come and fly over to Beijing. So that summer, I was so excited. It would be my first time overseas by myself, my first time in China, and my first time working in a law firm. So I remember my first day, I showed up in the city, in the financial district, this big, tall skyscraper. I walked over to the receptionist, introduced myself, thinking, here I am, I've made it. The receptionist, she looks at me, she typed on her keyboard, looks at her screen, she looks back at me. This is a true story. She said, unfortunately, your internship has been terminated. I was like, sorry, terminated? She spoke halfway across the world. It was an expensive flight. And she said, sorry, but because you're not a Chinese-speaking law graduate, you don't qualify. I was like, what? This is crazy. I had an interview. I persuaded the HR lady and the partner from the law firm, and they said to come. And I said, please, can I speak to you? She said, nope, you must leave. No matter what I said, I kept pleading for like 3-4 minutes. The only words that came out of her mouth were, no, leave. So I was 19, I didn't know what I was doing, I had no choice. So I walked out of the building, and I stood there thinking, I'm alone in Beijing, don't speak the language. Beijing is 8 hours ahead of London, so I couldn't even call home. My parents, my friends, family, everyone would have been asleep. So I thought, I've got a few hours to kill until I can speak to someone. And whilst I was stood on the corner, I was approached by this Chinese couple. They were both a bit nervous, but they were kind of giggling. And they came over to me and they said, please can we have a photo? I was a bit taken aback. They said, you look like an American actor, please can we take a photo? I don't know who this actor was. But I thought, hey, why not? It's going to make them happy. Take a picture with them. So I took a photo, and then I thought, okay, they speak English. I don't know anybody in Beijing. Let me have a conversation. And they were so friendly. They offered to show me around Beijing that day, go sightseeing. So this picture, this is us outside the Temple of Heaven. As you can see, we were very stylish back in 2001. But it turned out, I told them what happened to me. They were shocked about what had happened with this law firm. And it turned out that the wife of this couple, she actually works for another law firm in Beijing. And she said to me, oh, let me have a word with some of the partners. We'll see what we can do. So to cut a long story short, 2 days later, I started work at a new law firm in Beijing. So within 48 hours, I'd essentially been fired from one firm and hired by another. It's just crazy. But if we break this down, law firm number one, I'd only communicated with them by email and one video call, essentially a virtual connection. Law firm number two, I'd met this couple in real life. I'd spent time with them, built up rapport, a connection, almost a friendship. And that resulted in a real valuable internship. So the virtual connection took me here. The physical, human connection took me all the way up there. So that's the power of networking. So you never know who you're going to meet, who can help you. So as long as you are open and friendly with everybody, as long as you are willing to help anyone, anything can come back to you. So I would encourage everybody to network, whether it's, you don't know who can help you, whether it's someone you know, a friend of a friend, or a complete stranger or couple that you meet in the street. So at the beginning of this talk, I referred to both what you know and who you know. But if you combine the two and think about what you know about who you know, you actually get an unstoppable combination. I'll tell you why. So if you think about if you want to convince people to buy into a new idea, like the internet, like a new piece of technology, you need to think about how can you touch their hearts and their minds, but also how can you convince them to adopt it in a practical way? How can you make it easy for them? And one company that has done that really well recently is Amazon. So I don't know how many people know this, but I'm assuming most people here have used Amazon. You log in, create your account, you shop for products, you add them to your basket. Once you're ready to pay, you enter your bank details, and you're done. A couple of days later, goods arrive, fantastic. Did you know that over 1 billion adults on this planet are either unbanked or underbanked? What that means is they either don't have a bank account at all, or they have very limited access to financial services. Does that mean that none of these people should be able to use websites like Amazon? Well, Amazon didn't think so. So in 2020, in Mexico, they launched something called Amazon Cash. The way this works is you use Amazon in exactly the same way. But when you get to checkout, there's an option to pay with cash. If you choose this, you're presented with a barcode. Now you can take this part, you can print it out, or you can take it on your smartphone, you take it to a local store, and they scan it, and you pay in cash. 50% of the population in Mexico do not have bank accounts. So suddenly, overnight, 60 million people were able to benefit from online shopping, which most of us probably will take for granted. And that is the power of human-centric innovation. If you think, how can we make things work for people? That's where you start to make a real impact. But I also mentioned, touching people's hearts and their minds. So my third piece of advice is everything you do, you need to lead with values at the core. So, if we look at a recent study of Europeans under 40, so that's millennials and Gen Z, it found that we spend on average 6 hours per day on our smartphones, 4 hours of which are spent on social media. Instagram and TikTok, they're overwhelmingly the most popular social networks amongst this demographic, and the majority of under 40s believe that social media has more of a positive impact on daily life than it does negative. Interestingly, and probably not surprisingly, the older generation, 40 plus, the older they get, the more likely they are to believe that social media has more of a negative impact. So why is this important? What's any of this got to do with values? Well, if you look at Gen Z, they have essentially come of age during this era of social media dominance. And what that means is, depending on when their parents got them a smartphone, when they were allowed to be on social media, they've essentially been cultivating a personal brand from a very young age. They have their own social media profile across multiple networks. They post content on that profile based on how they want others to perceive them. And not only that, they have their own social media feed, which is curated. They are presented with content they're interested in, that aligns with their values. So what this means is, this generation is incredibly brand conscious, even subconsciously without realizing. So brand associations are dramatically more important to Gen Z than any prior generation. And this is actually a very positive thing, because if you think about it, the brand's story, the brand's values, their focus on issues like sustainability, diversity, inclusion, these really, really matter. So for the first time, people are thinking about these things, and companies are thinking we need to action these things rather than just focus on profit, no matter the consequence, which is one of the hallmarks of previous generations in the 20th century. So where does that leave us? Well, for a brighter future, for a brighter tomorrow, innovation is key. Technology and digitization of the world is key. But maintaining a human focus around all of this is absolutely imperative. Now, many future innovators could be in this audience, and so I would urge you all to network, meet people in real life as well as virtual life, learn about people with different views, different beliefs, different backgrounds, from different cultures. And if you lead with ethics and values at the core of everything you do, that will ensure a brighter future for us all, because technology means nothing without people. Thank you very much.